name is Chris Ndai. So I'm the author of the book African, the Rising Economic Power. As you can see, the book speaks about the African economy. And the fact that it speaks about the African economy is means speaking about your life and the life of your children and grandchildren. So this book has got 12 chapters, and we're only gonna focus in few of them, especially the one which speaks about the African financial freedom, which is really a God revelation. This book wasn't mine. The one who really wanted me to write is the Holy Spirit. You hear what the Lord wants. He really wants Africa to be free financially. That's the purpose for this book. So it has got 12 chapters. This day, for me, will be remembered as the day that the Lord has liberated Africa from its financial problem. So the yoke is broken. We should be happy about that. So as we know, the continent suffered 400 years of slavery, 300 years of colonization, and after independence, 1960 to 2000, until 2000, more than 200 coup d'etat, and a lot of war happened on that time. And you can, especially some of the countries, it was kind of like a festival. If you can see from 1960 to 2000, we can see that really our African leaders have never really planned any development plan. So is that from 2000 to until now, that's how Africa has shown himself to be able to really achieve some of the achievement that we saw. And we saw that really, like for example, the inflation from 2000 until 2019, with the data that we have, we see that 48% in 2000 as inflation went down until 6% from 48%. And then you can see extreme poverty was 48% in 2000, decreased to 35%. We can go on and go on and go on. Even if life expectancy went from 50 years to 60 years. Really, you can have a lot of data that shows that the last 20 years has been very successful for African continent. So this shows really that Africa has grown, but you can see also it has got some challenges, like really a problem with debt. We can see, like even if we have been having some economic growth, the debt, we have a problem with that. That's why the Lord, I believe, wants to save us from this trap. The Lord wants to liberate us really from this debt trap forever. So that's why you have to know that there's no political freedom without economic freedom. There's no economic freedom without financial freedom. So what we're going to happen here, the Lord is calling all African leaders to create a one Pan-African organization, which we can call, I just did call it, the Pan-African Infrastructure Fund. This infrastructure fund has to be a kind of tax union, at least a preliminary tax union, because you unite yourself under Agenda 2063. This has to be created in advance. The Lord is calling you to create it, leaders. This will save us, as you see, will save us in between 2 decades. We'll be able to be financial free. So how this have to happen? We might think that we are not able to do it, but there are many things that shows that Africa is not taxing its people. First, this we have to be given rights as a kind of like an IRS in the United States of America. It has to be the same. This has to be given some rights to create supranational taxes to each one of these 54 countries. It has to first go there, working with this other African organization, which is helping Africa about the tax. They go together and they expand the tax base of each African countries, because they are still narrow, even if these previous years they've been trying to increase, but they are still very narrow. In the formal sector, there's no really much there. Some of the people, they say Africa, even if there's corruption, the Africa is not taxing. What is losing corruption is not much that what it should be taxing its people. You have to understand that European Union, for example, Europe, they tax a lot. It's 3 times what Africa tax. Europe can tax as much as a little things in the rural area, but in Africa it's not the same. This is not because we are poor. It's not that. Since long time, Europe has been doing that, even in United States of America. So that's why we have to look at this aspect, what the Lord is calling us. We have this institution, we go out there, we go with its body, at least to each country. It will have at least 5 to 10 officers. There we go and look at how they expand the tax incomes and tax expand what they can get from tax and create supranational taxes for continental infrastructures. So when you look there, I cannot go deep. There are many things to do. There are 11 proposals when really Africa can collect at least $30 billion to $70 billion every year. If this Pan-African Infrastructure Fund is given the rights, it will be able to correct, if it's working together with this existing African Tax Administration Forum. This is an existing African organization which really has helped Africa to improve on their taxation. But if they work together, they go to each African country as a body to go and separate this supranational tax, Pan-African tax, from local domestic tax, they will be able to collect 30 to 70 billion, and it's a projection of $500 billion every 10 years. This is very important. So what you might think that we can be able to reach here? And this is possible? Yes, it is possible indeed. Let's just give ourselves an example. We remember that Nigeria, when it has created, for example, what they called Mandela tax, that tax was charging every worker around 2%. It has managed to collect from 1970 until 1994, it managed to collect almost $60 billion to help South Africa and other countries in Southern Africa on this side to be able to fight against apartheid. So if Nigeria can do that on those difficult moments, what about us, all these 54 countries together? Are we not able to collect $30 billion every year? We are able to collect $30 billion US every year. If you go to inside the book, you will read, you see 11 proposals that the Lord has given us how we can collect that money, $500 billion, and He shows us also how we can use this amount of money, what we can do to achieve what we want to eradicate poverty within our people. So the next one now, you will see that this fund, within 10 years as we will be collecting this fund, you have to know that, first of all, as Western taxpayers are collecting, they suffer to conquer others, conquer Africa. So African taxpayers should suffer to save Africa. They won't even feel really what to charge. Let's take, for example, if you will be charging everything which is exchanged at 0.5%, and you add a tax of 0.5% to everything which is exchanged in Africa, we'll be able to collect this money. Let's take another example within the 11 proposals. There is this digital economy, which we know that we are spending a lot in internet, we are spending a lot in data. We are in few years from now, we'll be able to spend almost $300 billion for only this, which will be contributing to African GDP. So if we can spend, we can get something there, we can also increase. There are many, a kind of all the list, we'll be able to see how we can collect this $500 billion within 10 years. So what shall we do within 10 years? That's very critical. We have to see what we can do on that moment. So those money, you have to understand that on this issue, what this organization we do, the Pan-African, the PIF, we go and look how to expand more, to get more taxes. Also, how to rebase the economies of Africa. You have to know that if the Africa economies, these countries, they don't go and do their statistics. They have to renew their statistics. Some of them, their economy have grown, but they don't know. An example, for example, of Nigeria, which decided to look at their statistics. They found that they became overnight the first economic power in Africa, taking over from South Africa, just by rebasing their economy, which thought it was $210 billion. They found themselves, they were almost 270 billion. They found themselves they were $510 billion. This is very important because it helps how to identify other tax-based tax incomes. So they can be able to recruit as other taxpayers. So this is very important when you rebase your economies. There's also Ghana. Ghana also, I think it was 2010, they looked at their taxes, they updated their GDPs, and they found that they grew 60% by just doing that. And they managed to move to the low, middle class society. So this is very important. This organization, we go out there and look deep, much deep, really, the economy of Africa to each 54 countries and create Pan-African taxes and establish that organization to each Africa to go and collect those taxes and send them to the local continental accounts. And that's where we can be able to reach this $500 billion. So the Lord is saying, focus only on building urgently the African integrated high-speed railway, which is very important. This is high-speed railway, which is already under Agenda 2063. People don't know about Agenda 2063. It's an agenda that 54 countries they have decided to put in place, which will take Africa out of poverty until 2063 and unite Africa. But it has got issues. The finances, they all in majority depend and expect Europe and European Union and the Western to be able to finance and create this when it comes to infrastructures and so on. So this is a problem. This is one problem. And we have African Development Bank, which is a very important body, which is helping really. Africa is a very important bank of development, but is also limited. So we see that really Agenda 2063 can fail like others, like other agendas for development that happened before because they are lacking money. This is very, very important that you should know that this Agenda 2063 will only depend when we have our own finances. So we have this African Development, Africa Integrated High-Speed Railways and Grand Inga Dam project, which are important. Only this money, we focus the first 10 years which they are collecting that money, we focus only on these two projects. Why? Because when you look at this integrated high-speed railway, it means it will collect, this project is about there to connect all the 54 countries with high-speed railways. This is very important. Imagine people moving within Africa within 2 hours or within 1 day or 2 days, changing, entering in each country. This is very, very, very important. It will help goods to be exchanged. It will boost our economies. And in fact, without these two projects, the trade agreement that which has to be in place soon won't be successful. You have to understand that. Even if when we compare big countries like Congo, DRC, it has got to come provinces which there's trade agreement. They don't need trade agreement, but they don't share goods. So we don't want to see a trade agreement where only the Western or the Chinese will share goods on top, but the people inside are not sharing good. We don't want to share poverty. We want to share good. So if we have this high speed, which is crossing all our villages, we see food which are exchanged between countries, and it will boost really, and it will become a changing game for Africa. This is very, very, very important. So you have to also understand that almost 30% of African countries are landlocked. So which means those countries which are landlocked, they are very rich on minerals. So they are, if they access the coast, they will be able to really improve their income. This is very, very important with this African integrated high-speed railway. There's also the second one is Grand Inga Dam. This Grand Inga Dam, you can read in this book. You understand how many NGOs has fighted against it. It's much more deep. You can understand that, but it's very, very important. You have to understand that Africa and lack of electricity is a huge problem. There is almost 30%, 50% of Africa countries have got less than 500 megawatt. We know that Africa needs more than that. We know that the solar is developing, but the solar tech is now big space. When you look at producing 300 megawatt with a solar energy, then you have to have a big land. And also, I don't think Africa can expect that only solar or wind or nuclear can really industrialize Africa. It's inevitable that Grand Inga can be ignored. That's very important that we focus on this. So within these 10 years, which we'll be collecting this money, this money will be helping to finance these ones. Then the private sector will come. We know that this, for African EU or PIF, we own, for example, plus minus 30%. And then there will be private sector which will take care of the management. We own also these companies, the shares, and they will take care about the management. But when you look down, there will be more shares. They will own 30% plus minus 30%, and African Union we own other money, other shares, and DRC in terms of this project, Grand Inga Dam, it will own also 30 or 40% because that's where it belongs, that project. But as they explained on the World Bank and other companies, they didn't trust really in the DRC to be able to finance this project. So you can read on that book, you can get more clarity. So now on this PIF, we own shares, which means through the next 10 years, they will be able to collect other money, which means they will be collecting also this tax, supranational taxes, still collecting also these shares. They will be able to collect $500 to $1 trillion. So this money now will be going to African Development Bank. This is very, very important because African Development Bank, that's where we have to target. We have to make sure that we create a process which will boost African Development Bank, which has got, it is a body which is existing there. But as we see now, they've tried to improve this last year. They say they will have a budget of a capital of $200 billion, but callable money is not there. So, but if we can make this money available, almost half $500 billion to the African Development Bank in the next 10 to 20 years, then we'll be able to stabilize our Africa for the next 200 years. That's what the Lord is calling us. He's calling us to be able to be an economic power for the next 200 years and remove poverty out of our people. So you have to understand why. You have to understand that our population is growing. Our population is moving from now, it will be double by 2060. We will be almost 3 billion people. So that's why it's very important. That time, we are able to have such bank, such like this African Development Bank, which has got flow, a cash which is available that can be able to help these countries to come out of poverty. So this the schema there are more explanation on the book, but is more about on how we can become financially free. So this now you have to understand that there are many other issues which come related to the industrialization. We speak about the industrialization or in Africa. We can read also on that book. I don't want to go much deep on that. Industrialization, there are 7 ways we can be able to industrialize Africa within 20 years. We have to know that we don't have to depend to all the system coming from the West, but we have to think, to debate. This really is very important. Africa is able to industrialize within 20 years. And these proposals are, for example, there are 7, but one that we can take, government can go out the way they ask money, to build roads. They can go and ask money to build. With 50 million, you can build really like a 10 or 15 companies. And when they are in the growing stage, and sell them directly, not to keep them, because they become zombie. They will depend much on because corruption. So, but when they are in the growing stage, then you sell them to the private sector. You have to understand there are many other ways that are proposals on this book that can help Africa to really industrialize within 20 years. So on education, we also speak in education that will be able to transfer cutting edge of technology within 2 decades. You can read on this book. There are many ways that we are able to really give to our children in a technology which is really now out there, available and easy really to transfer to our people. But it has to be a continental body which sit and try to do that. So also on this book speaks about sub-regions. These sub-regions in Africa, we know ECOWAS, we know SADC, we know East Africa, we know COMESA. These organizations, it's time that we see that they are not needed anymore, because they've done well, but now they are not needed anymore. We have to make sure that all the concentration are on the continental scope, which means we already have the African Continental Trade Agreement with its secretariat in Ghana. I think now we can be able to focus. We have to make sure that these organizations are dissolved. Then we can be able to concentrate only on the African Continental Trade Agreement, which has the aspirations of all these ECOWAS or these sub-regions. Would come to security matter, come to the market, and come to the projects. Because many countries, Africa is the only one which is looking to have more sub-regions. But when we are all in one, we can be able to look in the continental aspect and move faster. So this is very, very important. The other thing that the Lord is calling is that we create all you Pan-African organizations, Pan-African personalities. You have to sit and create a continental organ which make you meet. Let's meet together. Let's not talk about the past. The Lord is calling, forget about the past. The Lord has declared the freedom, financial freedom. That's all what is missing. If you get financial freedom, you get political freedom. If you don't have political freedom, you won't get economic freedom. So this is very important. Sit together, and then we sit 3 months before the African Union sit at Ethiopia or any other town. Every time they always meet. 1 month or 2 months, we meet somewhere, we talk about this, what the Lord has given us, then we propose them. We tell them what to do. They need to be uncomfortable from their continental, from their domestic problems, from their region problem, and focus on the continental aspect. Because, look, there's no way we can, it's very important that they do it as 54, because it's very important. When they are one, they will be able to move. We don't want to make them insecure. We have to move together, and most of the organization behind are the ones who always push this, our leaders. They will see what their people need. So Pan-Africans, be together, have 1, 2, 3, 4 things, show to the leaders, and they will be able to go as fast as we want. Thank you very much, and I hope I have spoken what is very important. But before I finish, we have to speak about the African demographic trend. When we know, and sometimes they always say that Africa demographic trend is a problem. No, this is not a problem. It's not a curse, it's a blessing. You have to know that when you look, for example, at Africa, African continent has got 30 million kilometer square, which is equal to China, India, United States of America, in European Union, Argentina, all combined. All combined, they've got 29 something million kilometers square, which Africa itself has got 30 million, almost the same. But when you look at our population, we have got 1.3 billion people, but they've got almost 3.6 billion to the same surface area. So when we see the Western agencies trying to push for our population, no, is not the issue. The issue is the economic growth that they should focus more because we are growing faster. In fact, to reach that population growth, we reach 3.6 billion people by 2080 to 2100. So this really is not the issue. So we have to focus. It's a blessing. We have only to grow as fast as possible. Why it is a blessing? You have to look, for example, the economic growth has been preceded by the demographic growth. We know that in the 18th century, Europe has doubled the population and the economy grew. We know, for example, in 19th century, the population of United States grew because of immigration, which was coming in from Germany, from England, from France, going to their towns in the United States of America. And it grew the economy mightily. We know, for example, China, Japan, and South Korea, from 1960 to 2015, China has tripled from 500 billion people to 1.4, has almost tripled those population. So they seem to know what precedes the economic growth. So we have to know that is a blessing. We don't have to be scared about it. What we need is to integrate much more, to exchange goods, is to industrialize fast, and is to be able to build these infrastructures. Because even if we can have this continental agreement, as we cannot exchange good, or we don't have enough good to exchange with such population growth, then it will be huge inequality, it will be a chaos for our continent. So this is inevitable. This African integrated high-speed railway, Grand Inga Dam, these are key. We don't have to use this money loose. We have to make sure that we focus to first 10 years to be able to collect them efficiently and build these infrastructures as much as faster as we can. Then if we succeed, there will be a lot of income. For example, 2 million people, they can use these train railways easily every day. If 2 million to 5 million can use these railways every day. And if you take an average of $50 US from moving one country to another, this is a huge amount of money every year. The PIF, African Development, PIF, Pan-African Infrastructure Fund, we're still going to collect its shares in the name of the African Union or all these 54 countries and go further to the next level of financing the African Development Bank, which is very key to be able to feed it with enough money for the centuries to come. And it's very important also that moment, this money will help us also to secure, to create this currency that we expect to create. Some of them, they call it Afro. It's a currency that Africa expects to have, that we share as one currency. It need currencies, reserve assets to be strong. And we need dollars, we need gold. So this system that we flow finances from ourselves, we help this currency to be strong and to be able to be used, even if by every externals who want to buy goods can use these currencies in the future. It has to start from us. I try to procrastinate. I'm not good on writing. It's the first book that I wrote. But now you can understand that this is a call from the Lord. Please, leaders, we know that really you are suffering. You have too much pressure from the Westerns. You have too much pressures of debt. We know how Zambia is suffering of debt. We know how DRC is suffering from debt. We know how Kenya recently was in trouble with the railways which they just recently built. We know how Zambia is in trouble with this debt from China. Really, if we keep on this trend without to create this Pan-African financial freedom, we're likely to see losing our continent easily if we are not really, because many things are happening without to know. Even if on land grab is huge, we see the last 10 to 15 years, Africa has sold almost a size of France. This is land grab. Sold a land of the size of France. Don't imagine when we let it from the next years because of the lack of finances. We saw China has already bought a size of Malawi, and they are very fast on buying land. So we don't want to reach to 50 years from now, where now we lose in political dependency. Then we go back to fight for political dependency. We have now to fight for financial dependency to protect the little political dependency we still have. Because when you lose this political independency, then it will be another problem. So we have to know that this fight is the same fight that we did fight for political dependency. It has to be seen all together, you leaders, 54 of you Pan-Africanists, looking on the aspect of finances, which is so easy to do right now. That when you sit together, you create as little as you can, but you are able to create as much as you can. And the African people, they are ready to participate when they hear. Diaspora, they are ready to participate when they hear. So you have to go down there, you create these organizations, give it some power, and give it some orientations. We know there are corruption, but there's a private sector. Once you identify where to go about it, there's a private sector which can go there and collect these finances in exchange of a certain percentage of administration budget and their fund, their payment. So we have to study all this, and within is a call. I don't know why the Lord is calling now, but it's now that we have to fight for financial freedom, because probably we might lose political freedom if we don't do it now. So the book speaks more about that. I don't think I will finish about speaking about it by speaking here. We have a short time here. But I think with videos which we go deep one by one and to explain really what the Lord wants for Africa. He heard the cry of these small churches all the corner. He heard their poverty, which they want to come out of it. So you should know that now what we can know is that China is the transition to prepare Africa to become the next economic power in terms of GDP for the next 200 years to come. So this is what the Lord is trusting for Africa. This involves many responsibilities that the leaders should prepare for. This will happen. This is inevitable. It's about to be shaped, to shape itself as we will be seeing it in the next 30 years to come, 20 to 30 years to come. So we have to know, we have to be aware of that. So the book explains about that, then we can go deep and understand that. So it's the same. You might not believe this as we speak, but it's the same as 50 years ago. If someone could say that China will overtake United States of America in terms of economy as we see it now, no one could believe it. It's the same as we speak it now. The Lord Jesus Christ is the Holy Spirit, which is trusting Africa for the next centuries to come. We have to be ready of that challenge. It involves a huge responsibility. As Kwame Nkrumah, who spoke as a prophet, he said that Africa will be, if united, will be an economy for good. So it means something, for good for the humanity. So it means something big. So he knew that what is about to happen is inevitable. So as you know, as you will see after this COVID-19, you will see how Africa will be really the most attracted continent in terms of GDP, in terms of FDIs. There will be all the companies want to diversify. So the global chains, they have been starting to move away from China. Now we see moving faster in Africa. That's why you have to understand, that's what we see, that's why the Lord is ready, is trying to make you ready to be ready of this challenge which is coming. You see a lot of a huge investment which is coming in Africa. So you have to be ready to be concentrated on these two infrastructures. They are key to be able not only to bring investment, FDIs, but also to reduce the inequality, which can be a challenge for the future. Thank you very much.